It's going to fall for Ibrahimovic. Oh, come on! David Beckham. Oh, goodness me. Yes, Giassizares. Can he do it? Yes, he can. Robbie Keane continues to captivate. Back from the depth. LA Galaxy level things up. It is over. The Los Angeles Galaxy have won their 6th MLS Cup.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Clash of Cosmos. On a bit of a roll here at C.O.C Network. I feel like we've been recording every day for a little bit now. But that's what we get at the end of the season for the Prem and stuff, and being at like the important bits of the MLS season. We're about, I think, a third of the way through the season now.
Yeah, we're right.
Yeah, 4 points, but maybe the most important point of the season. I still winless, but
it's a morale 3 points.
It is a morale 3 points, even at our lowest. Worst team in MLS history. Those fucking losers still can't beat us. That's impressive, dude. That's impressive. Every chance to come out, and I think we screwed the. I don't know what the expression is. I'm not even gonna try to say it.
Pooch.
Yeah, thank you.
Screwed the pooch.
Screwed the pooch, yeah, with saying that they were going to not go with their full strength 11 because Club America was around the corner. I didn't realize they still had 2 games to play before that. They still have like 2 more games before that game's played. So they went full strength, which that team is the team that they've been running for a little bit, outside of maybe like a Bobasi at the 9. But we were, inches away from, and multiple VAR penalties away from actually winning that game, and I felt hard done by at the end of it, but it's a point and hopefully something that we can grasp and go on further too. It's the whole gang, by the way. Sorry, I didn't introduce anybody, but I didn't feel it was necessary.
Yeah, we're all here, man.
Cool. Let's switch it up this time. Dari, I want you to give your thoughts, and then we'll kind of go from there.
I don't think there's a lot of the games that I've seen this season we haven't actually played awful, but it just goes down and we just lose. It happens every time. But this was a step above that, I feel like. I really enjoyed Sanabria in the midfield. I feel like he added a bit more like balance. And I think we were hard done to not get 3 points out of that game, if I'm being quite honest. I think any other team gets that penalty on that foul on Joseph Paintsel, maybe any other player on our team, it appears that Joseph doesn't get any fouls. So, yeah, a little hard done, but we'll take the point, especially given the situation.
Yeah, definitely could have been worse.
Yeah.
Let's just get the VAR shit out of the way now. Let's just get it out of the way now. I'm throwing up the fucking image, dude. So Cosmos overlooking.
It's so tough.
Look, this is an image that someone made. I'm sorry.
I'm looking closer right now.
I don't know what the name is, but the idea that this person in 10 minutes could make these lines, and we have a VAR system that can't do it, and then we have to make an on-field decision with the ref to make this call. It's super annoying. This is not clear and obvious, and look, this angle's fucked. And from an LAFC perspective, if we had been given the goal and seeing this angle, I'd probably feel hard done by as well. But on the flip side of this is, I don't know how you could look at this angle and tell me that that's offsides.
Yeah.
Sure, you could piece it together, but like that's not clear and obvious. It's not the point of the system. And to go back to your Joseph Paintsel point, like I saw him get molested in the box, and the ball go by him, and they didn't call anything, and that wasn't clear and obvious. I'm confused at where that line was drawn.
I think we complain about this a lot in the Premier League pod, but we just want consistency. Mm-hmm. Whether it be one or the other, like just be consistent with it. But when there's this picking and choosing of what to go look at and what not to look at, it's interesting. It makes you think. We don't want to be the people saying that it's pointed one way or the other, but I mean, when you look at those two decisions alone, they both go against us, and whether we like it or not, like that's on the refs. They chose not to go look at the one that would benefit us, and they chose to look at the one that gave us the disadvantage.
Yeah, and to just pile on that, like again, you don't want to say obviously they're going against us. It just sounds bad. It's right. That cliche. Refs are against us. League is against us. But to that point, Drew Fisher was selected as the referee for this game, and our trusty reporter Edgar, he does his research every week on the referees. And Drew Fisher, we looked at the stats. The Galaxy have 2 wins under him, and I don't know how many games, but it's a lot more than 2. And there's probably a lot of those instances where it's just things not going to Galaxy's way. And when you think of other El Tráficos, that it feels like the last 2 or 3 that we've played, there were a bunch of penalty calls that were super soft or non-existent penalties that got blown against the Galaxy. And it's just decisions that we're not getting. And it feels in each of those games, it's like we're getting a referee who is historically, we're looking at the numbers. We know that it's, we could say, anti-Galaxy referee. The numbers just say that. It's not biased, but it's just what his performance on the pitch has shown. So we have that. And then again, like Mila mentioned, the picking and choosing when to go to VAR, when not to. The point of VAR is to overturn something clear and obvious. That's something that we've all tried to understand since the very beginnings of the VAR days. That was the point of it. It's not going to interfere with the game, but it's going to help overturn these bad decisions. On the pitch, Gabriel Peck's goal was given. He celebrated it. The stadium blew up. We had that moment of euphoria because we thought it was good. According to the sideline AR, he didn't lift up his flag. He kept his flag down. And to overturn it with that angle, and to think with all the cameras around the stadium that there isn't one good angle to actually look at. Drew Fisher had the same 2 angles that we saw. That one with the half line where they drew the image, and then another one kind of inverse from that, but you can't really see where Peck is. And I don't know if that's an Apple thing, an MLS thing, but to not have more angles with all the cameras we have, to me, is ridiculous as well. To not have a good line of sight, it's amateur. It really does feel that way. And if we're going to be charging $500 million to, start a franchise in this club, I imagine any owner is going to want to feel like that the league has the equipment to make these right decisions. This was an irregular league game in a season that at the end of the year is probably not going to impact us too much. But when we're talking MLS Cup finals, conference finals, it's the same situation. It's the same production. So to see all of that is just not just anti-Galaxy, it's anti-football. Like that's the point of all of having right, is to make the right calls. So just really, really, it just sucks, to be on the other side of it. LAFC, if I was an LAFC fan, I'd probably be feeling a little bit relieved. Maybe not as much on the Peck goal, because again, looking at it, we all thought it was offside, but it was given, and to overturn it with something not clear and obvious, that's so frustrating. But again, that penalty, that has to be looked at. And like Dari mentioned, if it's Joseph Paintsel, I will admit he is a big, a little bit of an exaggerator. He looks for fouls a lot of the time. So refs I don't know why they're targeting him. There's so many floppers in this league, but it feels like they're punishing him, trying to get the flopping out of him. But yeah, he's just not getting anything, and it just. I
don't like the passion he emits.
Yeah, he cares. I can tell you that if on the other side of the coin, a star player was in the box and he potentially got fouled, it would have got looked at. I don't know if you guys remember this play. I remember it.
Oh yeah, I remember literally every game. I think about this play.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we play them, it comes into my mind. Just like,
why does he get superstar treatment that other players don't?
It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. I don't want to just. We're gonna sound like all tin hat if we get into it.
I don't care if I get tin hat, dude. I saw Joseph Paintsel get kicked in the.
Talking about what's there, right? The choices I've made. We're not trying to be one way or another, which again is difficult. We're all biased here, but we're just talking about the decisions that have been made. To criticize them, if we sound tin pot, then I think that's more on the league for just consistently doing it. It can't be on us.
Yeah, it's so dumb because I bet you there's so many other teams that have felt this way, especially against LAFC.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
probably teams I can't look. I can't the only time that in the past maybe 5 years that I remember us being lucky with VAR was the Garces one earlier this season.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I genuinely felt like we've gotten a VAR decision that's been totally wrong go in our favor. Every other one I feel like has gone in the opposite direction. Every time those guys go to the monitor, I just assume it's against us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drew Fisher, stupid face. Dennis Bouanga, stupid face. God, fuck. The worst part is he's very good.
Yeah,
but
he's a great
we
player.
have no choice but to fucking hate his guts. That's how good he is. That goal he scored was stupid. It was stupid.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been it couldn't have been a worse accumulation of things that happened. You get the Yoshida pass straight to Mark Delgado, who then Mark just does what he did all of last season and just gave it to their best player. And then he just scores a fucking rocket. I want to get the bad stuff out of the way first before we get into like the good stuff because there was a lot of good from this game.
Absolutely, but yeah, for it to be from Mark as well, to get that interception, get the assist, it just stings a little bit more.
Of course, Mark made the interception.
Right, of course.
He's
the best.
Fuck, I can't hate him. There's nothing in me that can make me hate that guy.
Yeah, he's got my respect forever. Should we talk about that whole situation, the social media debacle?
I mean, my honest opinion on it is like, it's a sport. We're all competitors. He knew that was going to get posted. Even if it was during the warm-ups, like, doesn't make him look any better or worse in LAFC fans' eyes, in my opinion. Like, the Galaxy used it.
Did he come out and say that he didn't know they were going to post it, or did he? He
said that they told him it was going to get posted during warm-ups. The video during warm-ups, and that he didn't know it was on social media. But it's like
social media.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a lie, but I mean, a lie by omission is kind of that same deal. It's a very tricky moral situation.
Yeah, it's crappy from the Galaxy perspective, but also we're rivals.
Yeah, I kind of like it a little bit.
It's a little shithousery.
Yeah,
it's mental games. And look, if anything, like the on-field, performance, maybe we needed a little extra.
Yeah,
definitely. And not the reporter side of me, the fan side of me was definitely happy to see that and to see the reaction from LAFC fans. They were so rattled to see that. And I was just loving that. Like, yeah, he's wearing your shirt, but that's a G through and through every day. Yeah. He bleeds blue, white, and gold. So it was great to see that, to feel that, And I mean, at this point in the season, we need every little emotional thing going our way. So I was happy to see it. But again, it's just after Mark coming out and saying that they didn't let him know that it was going to be that way, that they told him one thing, did another. That sucks to see. But at the end of the day, like I think Dari mentioned this, the most likely thing is that it's lip service, trying to calm those fans down, who, pay his bills now, which, he does have to do. That's what his press conferences are for. So an interesting situation. The Galaxy, doing a little bit of black magic there. But, all's fair in love and war. And if I'm an LAFC fan, at the end of the day, I'm not complaining with the draw when it very easily could have been a loss.
Yeah. 100%. All right, let's go to the good. Mila, I'm giving you the stage because there were 3 people on this podcast for multiple weeks that were not very happy with who I'm calling in the title Super Marco Reus. But you stayed consistent. You stayed consistent throughout the whole thing. So I'll let you have the stage.
Yeah, I'm a little biased. He was one of my favorite players growing up, so I was never going to turn. But this is what he does. It was just I feel like he never really grew into the team early in the season. And then when he was starting to try to do that, we were just terrible. Lost. And then also he got hurt. It was a little injury at first. He came back, I believe. And then the longer injury. And then when you guys started shitting on him, your mic's muted also.
Sorry, I had to flip my hat.
You guys started talking about him. I think a little bit of the pressure was just on him. I told Dari to his face, I was like, you guys are scapegoating him. And like, I don't think you were meaning
It
to,
wasn't
but
on
I think no. I think he was just the most experienced, the best player available right now, or at that time. So the responsibility falls on him. But you have to remember, he's also at the time only had been with the team for probably less than half a year, training and all, probably 3 months.
Yeah.
Right? 4
He's
months.
he's also 35 and coming off
35
of
and made a
ailment.
glass.
Yeah.
Made a glass. Like, yeah. It's good that he seems dedicated just from social media and his attitude to be here and to get fit to play for us. And I think it was about time that he started to show his class, because at the end of the day, I think when it comes to his career, without the injuries, he would have been a lot better and probably one of the best that we've seen. So just him being able to provide something for us, and it looks like that he's found a way to minimize his running on defense, but still have some sort of impact. He waits to press rather than just gassing himself out and having to go out in the 60th minute. And that's going to be important because, as we saw, we need him like the entire game right now. So as long as he can find a way to still have a presence on defense and do this attacking stuff, score the free kicks, make the passes. He could have had another assist with that pet goal if it went our way. So just think about that too, from like perspective of where he could have been on that match. That could have been an all-timer of the match for us. I'm happy to see this. I want to see more of this, and hopefully he can bring us our first win. I do think he's going to finish with the most goal GNA this season. And I think that's pretty impressive from a guy who just got here.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. We're probably quick to scapegoat him. And honestly, I've had issues with multiple guys this season that I've expected more out of. I think him and Fagundes have been on the front end of that.
Fagundes, I can see it more. He's been in this league. Like, we've seen what he can do in this league. He's been on this team too, so he knows the expectations and like what we want out of him, and it just still hasn't been there. He also wears the armband from time to time.
Yeah.
Whereas Royce is just some guy that we brought in at the end of last season. Not some guy, but like in terms of this squad's makeup and like the hierarchy, I guess, he is just a guy on the outside trying to make his way in.
Yeah. No. The ask on Royce is so much higher. And it's essentially because at the current state of the roster, we're asking him to be Ricky. At 35, no legs, just in a completely different situation where like he's not in his prime and he's not young enough to do that type of running. We've essentially said like, hey, we have no Ricky, we need you to be Ricky. And over the last 2-3 games now, 4 games even more, like I could say, he's confidently played at a Ricky's type of level. I think the ask has been a lot easier, and I think that's something that I'll give Vanny credit for. And I hope that he continues to go in that direction, because I'm a little concerned with the starting lineup today on Sunday that we might not see that still. But asking Royce to do a lot less defensive work has brought out all the good parts of his one is off his defensive press. Like, I don't know how many times this season I've seen him win duels at the mid to kind of like the midline. That's been a super important part of him springing forward the press. And he does it much better and more tactically aware than Ramirez does or than Fagundes. But like also I feel bad for Fagundes at the same time, because I feel like we're asking him to do too much. This team gets more appropriately slotted when we play younger and we play with the guys that actually need to be in the right spots. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that, but
I mean,
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think we would like to see that youth come into the side, that extra just legs in the team overall. But I see the need for Fagundes or someone like Fagundes. Like we've talked about, it could have been a Delgado, but just someone with that experience to be in the squad, it's necessary. And with all the youth we have right now, the untested MLS product, like I think he has to play right now. I get it, but it's not necessarily what we want.
I agree with you, Mila. I feel like it's like we don't really know who you, because Cuevas, I would say maybe on the right side, but you can't really sacrifice Pack. I mean, maybe with Paintsel coming back to full fitness, we'll see him dropping deeper. But I don't know. With Sanabria back as well, it mixes things up. I feel like we're gonna kind of see him return to the bench for a little bit, which might see a little bit of improvement in his on-field. Well, because last season he was mainly used off the bench.
Yeah.
And I feel like he was pretty successful in that. And then when he was called to start, he was pretty successful as well. But I still feel like there was less pressure that he knew he wasn't going to be a regular starter. So I don't know if it's a mental thing, but I don't know. I think he might return to the bench for a little bit.
Yeah, really, really interesting. There's just been so many changes this season with players coming in and out of injury. We finally got to the point where we have like a somewhat solid midfield. And that's really what's unlocked Marco Reus. Besides him coming back, really getting fit, like Mila mentioned, he did struggle with a lot of injuries earlier on in the year. And people got on him really quick for not performing. But you're just expecting too much from, again, an older player not exactly being fit yet, not being healthy. Now it feels like he's arrived. He's played 90 minutes in what feels like the last 3-4 games. That's, a lot more than we saw last year. And this is the most Marco Reus has played in a Galaxy shirt. And he's in full stride right now. Besides that, he has, again, that really solid midfield. We have Sanabria recently coming back from major collarbone fracture as well. Came back quick, but now it feels like he's fully healthy, really ready to be adopted on midfield. I collected a couple of stats, just wanted to talk about why Sanabria coming back, being healthy, has really unlocked Marco Reus. You saw, we're looking back at 3 games now to that 7-0 against, 4 games, but 7-0 against New York Red Bull. We had no Sanabria in the team. He wasn't in the 11. He might have been subbed on, but we messed around with the shape, played with that 3-back. Obviously, we could talk about the result, but Marco Reus wasn't necessarily as effective in that game. 2 chances created, 2 passes into the final third, and that's really with just an inconsistent midfield, inconsistent defensive situation. And now we take that to Philly, that 3-2 heartbreaker. But again, those 45 minutes where we had Winder, Sanabria, and Surreal in that midfield, really young, really dynamic, just a lot of work in that midfield. We saw 2 assists from Marco Reus, 5 passes into the final third, looking a lot more incisive, pulling the strings, really unlocking it. So when we can take away those defensive responsibilities from Reus, yes, he's a great, he knows when to press, how to conserve his energy, but still be effective on a defensive end. But we can just take that off of his mind at all. You just unlock this superstar, this whole player, the guy that we went out and signed, the guy that we sacrificed essentially, Mark Delgado for. But when we unlock him, we support him with that midfield, it just opens him up. Here against LAFC, we see Surreal and Sanabria, really strong double pivot there, voice back to the midfield. But what we had was Diego Fagundes on the left wing, playing essentially 2 roles, as a winger and as a midfielder, doing a lot of that dirty work for Marco Reus so that he could go attack. And again, we had those 2 goals and 5 more passes into the final third. All of that just showing that when you have a solid core, Marco Reus can go and shine. But that demands a lot out of someone like Diego Fagundes if we're going to have him in the midfield. So to Dylan's point about having youth, I do think that we could have seen a second half substitution. We were texting just talking about the game when it happened, and we noticed that after 30-ish minutes, Diego Fagundes was looking gassed. He was playing 2 positions, and yeah, those first 30 minutes I thought were brilliant. We saw Peck looking really, really direct, looking really, really bright, attacking, creating that goal for Reus. And a lot of that was Diego Fagundes doing that work, allowing the play to build up from that other side on the right. But as soon as he got gassed, wasn't able to help out too much in the midfield. We have essentially 2 defensive midfielders and Marco Reus, in his libero role attacking. So we're just a lot more open. We start seeing some goals. We start seeing LAFC get a lot more into this game. And to me, I thought it was clear. I thought that Fagundes just gasped, like that he wasn't providing. And that was where I really thought it was obvious that the downfall was kind of happening. So I was really surprised not to see a second half sub. Someone like Isaiah Parente, who, we've seen in this midfield role do really, really well, put in a lot of work, or even someone like Tucker Lepley do a lot more of the attacking side, but also willing to drop as well and, really tenacious. We've seen some I've been impressed with a lot of Lepley's runs defensively. So I feel like we have those options that we've counted on for a large part of this year have performed pretty well. And I was surprised to see Vanny wait until the 70th minute to make that sub when I feel like, again, we have these players who are good. And to me, at least, it looked obvious that Diego Fagundez was tired. Why not make that change sooner and maybe get the Galaxy a little bit more some time to get their foot back on top of this game and create some more goals. Even without those changes, I mean, we had a goal ruled off. We had a couple of good chances. So to think of this team with some more energy, allowing Marco Reus to be even more brilliant, I don't see why we're not making those changes. Maybe later on we'll see that happen. And yeah, again, like Dari mentioned, we have Painso probably coming back into the 11. Maybe we'll see Fagundez stick in that midfield, do some work there. We'll see some more Parente action. But I think we have these pieces now, and we know the recipe to unlock Marco Reus. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. I just want to see a little bit more, maybe quicker decision-making from Danny.
Yeah.
I liked everything that you just said, and I'm glad you talked about Fagundez's role. I think what he's doing is super important, especially since we're leaning on Reus to do that role, which is, do you guys think you could see Painsil at the 9 next game? Because I think that's what's going to happen, honestly. I think Ramirez was pretty underwhelming in just the press and the overall just – he's so slow.
He had a good ball to Peck for that first goal. That build-up play, that was brilliant. He had that good final ball. But that was his best contribution the whole game.
Well, that's the thing. I understand the good parts of Ramirez and that he's got great build-up. He seems to have connection with Reus already. We've talked about that before. But in terms of what we need from the striker, in him initiating our press and him making the runs, he doesn't offer any of those things. And when he does, it just doesn't look like he's going to get anywhere near the ball.
Feels like
I know Painsil's coming on in the 61st against some tired legs. That might help, but even without the tired legs, he's faster than them, and he's got more passion than them. So that's kind of what I think we need right now at the 9, especially if Nascimento is just going to be this substitute player. If that's what we want to do, then I think you bring him on for later in the game with Ramirez rather than have Ramirez start.
Yeah. I was going to call that left side the Bermuda Triangle, because I think at all points this year I've kind of started to pick. I was like saying it's groupings, right? It's like 2 of them can't play together. The 3 of them cannot play together. I don't think you can get a productive more than 15 minutes from those 3 because you're asking too much of players that are too old. Like Ramirez isn't a young cat. He's 34. Fagundez is in his 30s. Reus is 35. Like the demands of this league in terms of pressing is way too high. And that's why you have diminishing returns at a certain point. All 3 of those players are technically brilliant. They all, with the ball at their feet, can do a lot for you. But when you ask them to do the dirty work stuff, that's when it falls apart. So in the last 15 minutes of a game, the idea of Fagundez, Ramirez, and Reus against tired legs can get you there. I 100% agree. But I thought that we looked great for the first 15. We looked pretty bad until half. We looked really awful for the first 5 of the second. Ramirez comes off for Painsil, and then that's when we started to rebuild into the game. And then we made who came in for Fagundez?
Parente.
Yeah, and that's when really the game completely switched, because it became Reus not having to do any defensive work, and you already had 3 battling 3. I think that was honestly the biggest miss of the game for me in Vanny's perspective, is we went up against one of the best midfields in the entire league, essentially 2-on-3 every single time down the pitch, because we asked Fagundez to be a left wing and to be a center mid the entire game. That's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. I think that's what's gotten us into a lot of problems. If Fagundez is in the midfield to start games, I'm fine with it. Like, if he's there in the midfield and we're not asking him to also bomb up the wings, it can work. But I don't think you can ask him to be a winger and a center mid at the same time at his age. That just doesn't make sense to me. But
And
to
I
your point,
essentially think we need to just run like a 4-4-2 with the wing back overlapping and have him do the bombing up and have Fagundes just play as like a wide midfielder for us.
I don't mind. I think that's great. Like when you limit,
And then when Royce wants to go occupy those spaces, we go into the 4-3-3. But it's not a permanent thing. It's not as much consistent running that's asked of them.
yeah, I that's essentially what you're doing when you have Paintsel in the 9, like you were saying. That's what looked the best. That's the best we've looked all year.
That's what, yeah. I mean, he came in, started at the 9. I think he stayed there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't even a false 9
no.
with Royce. We just played with 4 in the midfield essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm in love with that idea actually, because you play into our strengths. We have 2 of the fastest, most gifted technical wingers in the entire league, and that was the first time all year I felt like we actually played them down the wings.
I think with our lack of striker right now, Paintsel can't even be playing the winger. We need output in the middle, and we don't have it.
I don't disagree. Unless it's
and it has to be him. I mean, hopefully one of these days he gets more than 30 minutes.
I mean, he will soon. He's coming back from injury.
That's true. He might be building up into it, but
did that cameo do something for you guys?
A little bit, yeah.
That cameo moved.
I mean,
me in ways that I'm scared to say it moved me, but it moved me.
He can hold up the ball. He's got a little tech to him. Like, we just need him to hone that in and then get some consistent minutes for us. Get that first goal is going to be electric.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
May 31st.
I think they're protecting him
bubbleheads,
maybe, but yeah,
I mean, especially since he's a loanee. Like, yeah, we don't really. If you're not convinced by him, then either don't play him because he's a loanee, or throw him in the deep end. Exactly. But I don't get this whole like waiting and seeing when he can offer us basically everything that Ramirez does and some of what Ramirez does. But we just haven't seen the goal output because he has a lack of minutes.
He had 3 duels in 9 minutes as a striker.
He's aggressive. He's super aggressive.
Yeah. Dude, he won more. That was the first time all year we've had someone win a header in the like in the other team's half. I'm convinced. Like
it's shocking because Ramirez isn't a small guy.
No, but
he's just like the body moves slower.
Yeah,
that's really what it's felt like. It's just half a second behind everything.
It just looks like he moves in slow mo. Everything that I hated about Barry. He's just half slower, like 0.5 speed, and it's just like, bro, please go.
But he can't. It's okay to call a spade a spade. He's not a 9.
Yeah,
he's not a 9. That's not.
It's not what he did. Or Ramirez?
No, Ramirez. I don't think he's a 9. I think that when we bought him, we tried to make him a 9. He's done it before, but like when he was at his best for Columbus, he was playing off the right. He was playing off Acucho. He was a right-sided forward. You're not. I don't think that he does the
main target now.
No,
the hold up, Luis link up stuff.
He's not good with his back to goal. He's very good with the
playing
ball
a target man,
going to goal. But like with his back face, like we've seen it multiple times now, where he tries to hold it up and then like the ball's just gone.
Yeah,
at least that's my opinion.
And it hasn't been great when you're half a second slow getting into the box. The winger doesn't have that chance to get his cross off anymore. Do you feel like he just hasn't gotten service? Yeah, he isn't. It's an interesting point, definitely, and I feel like the way he's played has kind of gone to proving it a little bit.
He is 100% serviceable, and I think as the bench striker, like that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm just not sure if you can play those 3 guys together. Like he just is the one player that it's you're pushing the water just over the line there, where now it starts to flood, instead of it being like, if it sucks because if Ricky was playing, he'd be phenomenal. But he's not.
He'd have like 10 tap-ins already.
Yeah.
Yeah, life would be easier.
I do want to bring up a question about maybe Kuntz. We're talking about 3 strikers. We have Ramirez, Barry, and Nasi, and we've got 3 goalkeepers now. J-Mac, Mikovic. Marcinkowski. I hope I said that, but it feels like the decision making in the offseason wasn't necessarily ideal when we're having a lot of redundancies where maybe we need 1-2 of those players, and it just seems we have these extra guys who just aren't playing, just aren't contributing. And when we're talking about needing depth, it hasn't helped us for sure. So I've talked about this a couple of times, but I really need to see a banger transfer window from Coots in the summer and next winter. We need to be more efficient, I think, in our decision making. We just haven't been, and we're talking about these guys who are spare parts essentially.
Well, I mean, I guess can I counter with the question for Mila here? Like, what is the answer there? What is the transfer that actually makes that stuff make sense?
Dude, that's the thing. When it comes to the MLS, I'd love to talk about this in any other league, but this is so hard. Like, the question you're asking, one, is like, who do we have to get rid of to get who we want? That makes it hard.
Names, I just feel like we have these extra pieces, these positions.
Oh, I agree with
other, maybe other needs, center backs, midfielders.
But that's the thing. Like, you can
just take one and sort of move it anywhere else. Suddenly, we have more depth and we have some more options.
We have depth in the wrong places. I definitely agree with that. But I think in terms of the transfer window, like, some of these names that we want, like the fat that we want to trim off, they don't really, like shift the scale at all in terms of what we need to bring in someone that actually makes an impact on our team. Like, some of them are just dead weight because we have a little bit of money, I think. And I think we need to get rid of the issue. Why we are where we are is because we have those big names that we all got rid of. And now we're left with kind of the scraps and then the big guys that are taking up a lot of it. I do need to deep it more. It's super confusing, and I tried to take a look at it in Football Manager to try to understand it more, and I'm still trying to work out the maths to even figure out how we got the team we have right now.
The way you described it just sounds like it's the beginning of a project, and the way we've been playing this year, it's like we're at the beginning of a project. So again, I just go back to that point. These transfer windows, I want to see us pushing that needle, taking some clear steps. Kuntz did brilliantly last year at sort of giving us our finishing touches. I want to see how we can do starting from scratch. And just really interested in these windows. Really, really want to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going back to the offseason, like the two biggest things that happened was we won a title, and then we immediately got braced with the idea that 2 of our U22s had to become DPs. And that's where it falls apart, right? Like, when you have to change the U22, which I think is like $1 million, to your DP, which I think is 3 when it comes to the cap sheet, like, that's $2 million right there. And that's like, what are you supposed to do at that point? Because we already promised Peck the DP spot, so he's getting $3 million. That's why you lose Dayon, because you can't afford to even pay him anywhere close. And then that's also why you lose Delgado, because he was our highest paid TAM player. And so the only way up from there is to pay him more, but we can't afford that anymore. So then you lose him. And then you're trying to fill those holes of the U22s again. And we went with it was a midfield for midfield swap. And then we went with the highest paid TAM player that we could go with was Ramirez. So we went with the striker striker for highest paid TAM. That was our swap for DP. And then a U22 for our highest paid TAM. And I think I saw a podcast clip where Kuntz was explaining that, and it's a mess. This league has made it a mess, unfortunately.
It's super confusing. It's just like in terms of footy, everywhere else you can have some idea of what's going on, but in this league, like, even if you're well versed in the transfer market, like, people have no idea what the fuck's going on. If you're looking outside looking in, and if you're inside, you definitely had to do a lot of work to understand how to operate, even if it's coming from Kuntz. Like, I think that's a pretty good indication of where we are in the league in terms of how the caps work and all of that.
Well, thank God we have Kuntz, who, was there writing some of those rules. If anyone's going to understand them, it's him. So it's, a little bit of pressure off of our backs. hopefully he understands them. But yeah, it's just a tricky spot to be. And again, I just wanted to bring that up. We have some redundancies. I think we have some space to be more efficient, and I want to see that in these windows.
I wish I had a good answer to that, because like the issue is you have this Ricky Pooch waiting in the distance, right? Like you're not going to go get another midfielder who's kind of in that Royce Ricky mold because you got Ricky coming back. You're not going to get another striker because you have Ramirez and you have a project in Nascimento. So then you're either getting a backup for Paintsel and Peck, which like who's a realistically good backup to a winger that's isn't going to demand minutes or high dollar. There's not a lot of them. Maybe a center back, but then we brought in Zonka. He just hasn't been good.
I just don't understand why we brought in Zonka unless Yoshida was out.
Yeah.
Then that was a last minute decision to come back, because there's no reason to have two guys of that age. I understand that we lost Cáceres, but you could have gotten someone a little more of a transitional age rather than two guys that are towards the end of their careers. And also the fact that he's not
Neil. That instead.
It would have been nicer.
Or at least we could have just kept Neil for this year. We had him on a home run for this year.
I don't think we could have.
I'm looking at his thing right now. He had a club option till 25. So we could have. The thing is, he becomes a free agent and go wherever he wants.
Oh, okay.
Right. So like he could have got top dollar anywhere, but we could have kept him this year. That was a decision that was made with the idea.
There were some bad decisions made.
But
and
like
in terms of getting that replacement for a Paintsel or a Peck, I feel like you'd have to get rid of Fagundes in that, and then you lose some depth in the midfield when we do need him to fill those roles, and that's why they probably made the decision to take him over Delgado. But like you're saying, who replaces that, and who can do that better than what we have it right now? Can someone younger in the league do that?
I doubt it. My only thought was Gressel. And he went like that was a consistent one I was talking to Dari about, but he's gone. So
lots of questions regarding the scouting, some of the choices we made. And I want to go back to last week when we talked about Greg Vanny getting renewed. A big part of that was a lot of the other infrastructure that they put around him. We saw Juninho being promoted to advisor to the general manager. And the biggest thing was Ravi Ramineni. From the Seattle Sounders. He really revolutionized when it comes to data analytics. In Seattle in the MLS, he introduced that. It's kind of moneyballed that team and built the infrastructure for analysis in the league. I watched this podcast he did a little while ago where he talked about that, how he's a Microsoft analyst, got into soccer, and again just started building data analysis, player analysis from the ground up. So we're talking about people like Kuntz who understands the rules. This is one of those guys who knows his craft better than anyone, it feels like. And I think that's going to be massive when it comes to our recruitments. It can't hurt definitely to have somebody with that, that resume. So again, I'm just really excited for this transfer window. I think Kuntz knows what he's doing, and now he's sort of empowered himself with another administrative star. So hopefully we're going to be talking about some signings in the future that make perfect sense, and that's because we're looking at these numbers in an all new way thanks to Mr. Ravi. So I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, Seattle's been one of the most consistent teams for the better part of a decade and a half in terms of being good every single season and making the playoffs. For a team that's not a big market, but for whatever reason they know the cap situation and then they know how they can scout better than everyone else. It's a great pickup. And it's for a team that doesn't have I don't think we've had a data analytics department. I think that was like a big thing with Vanny, was like we didn't have one for a number of years until he came in. Like it was like Vanny, and then Vanny took all of his data, and then we didn't have anything for a number of years, and then Vanny came in and has had to make a data department himself. So now having someone to lead that and who actually understands the sport from that level,
it's a godsend. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because we're back at floor one for a lot of this stuff. Like Will coming in was literally the very, very bottom of this totem pole of like rebuilding. We just happened to win a championship at the bottom floor.
Right.
So
after
now we're like,
Yeah.
Literally, like, essentially what's happened is we got into the elevator, we went to the very top, and then it Tower of Terrored us and just we're right back to the bottom. But like, we're going to go right back up. Like, we're just going to keep doing this elevator thing until eventually, hopefully, we're on, you know,
And we get close down.
Yeah. Yeah. This has gone really long, but I
know. I was going to say we should probably talk about the next game.
SDFC. I don't really have a whole lot tactically to go into it. I think we talked about it in the LAFC game.
Covered our bases.
So let's just do star player and predictions and get out of here.
I did want to talk about just one thing really quick regarding San Diego. They're a really similar team the last time out, but their biggest thing that's going to be different is Marcus Ingvardsson. He was their star striker. I believe he had 6 goals, 6 assists in the league. But back in March, he had like a 3-4 month injury that he's on the tail end of, but he still won't be available. So that's a big piece that they're going to be missing. I mean, he's got more goals and assists than anyone on our team. So to be missing someone like that is going to hurt. But besides that, they look relatively similar. But I feel like, are looking a lot different, or in a lot different situation than we were in that home opener. We were having that goalkeeper contribution that wasn't necessarily stable. We had our midfield situation that wasn't stable. Sanabria was in the team, but that was his first game in a Galaxy shirt. Obviously didn't necessarily know what he was doing. It didn't look all that great because of that. We had Marco Reus, who was coming off of still being half injured but playing, wasn't necessarily in form. And Gabriel Peck, the one DP he probably played well, was in some decent form, but again, just gets double teamed, not too much. Whereas now we come into this game, we know who our goalkeeper is, and he's been good. We know who our midfield is, and they look, better than ever this year at least. Marco Reus is striding, he's flying. He's in full Marco Reus mode. And we have Gabriel Peck, who last game, looked really good. He's back to being direct. So I think we're in a little bit of a different situation. And these past couple of games, we've been talking about the Galaxy looking better. This win is coming. This win is coming. We're feeling a lot more optimism. It's been a lot less depressing talking about it. So this is really that game to really prove that we've turned it around. It's the same team on their side, if anything, a little weaker, where we have to show that we've actually made some progress. And if there's a game to, get a first win after El Tráfico, I think it just lines up. This is the game to prove it. So I'm looking forward to it.
I feel like we say that every game. It's been so long. Hey. Every game we're like, this is the game. This is the one. Like this. If there was ever a game to win, it'd be this one. And then
it's this one for real.
If we keep predicting that we're gonna win, eventually we will, and we'll look really smart at that point.
Yeah.
And then we'll post that clip. Like we told you.
Yeah, literally, we've been telling you this for 15 games. You guys are so stupid. I told you we'd win.
No. I do think you're right, though. This one, I can see where we can go from this one. Whereas the other games we've played well, and I'm like, okay, if we could just make that a little bit better.
Right.
I'm hoping we make it better. But like with the way we played last game, I could see how we can improve upon it into the next game. Just definitely reassuring as a Galaxy fan, and hopefully we can get that first win.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen is right. Yeah, they're a good side. Third in the West.
Yeah,
they haven't lost in 5. They've won 4, and they just drew to SKC.
No, yeah.
So, as long as we don't score on ourselves, I think we have a shot.
I would like to commend myself also for predicting the score of last game correctly.
You know what? Yes, yeah. Round of applause to you, Dari. Andrew. But he predicted it as well. So you both get major credits from me. Right. You get major credits because no one's gotten a prediction right this season.
Yeah, it's the first one, isn't it?
Yeah, I predicted the score lines in the wrong direction. Like I've predicted a 3-1, we've lost 3-1. I think that's happened multiple times.
Oh yeah.
But you did it. And the fact that you did it is impressive because out of all the games to get right, that was the last one I was expecting.
The most unpredictable game in the league.
Yep. So,
you know what? It was too easy, those other games. He was saving it for the right one.
He was.
Yeah. I was loading up.
Okay. So, star player and prediction for LA Galaxy versus SDFC. Dari, you got it right last week going first. You're going first again.
Let's do
Predict
it.
us to win, please.
I'm gonna go 3-1 LA Galaxy win.
You
And
heard
we'll
it.
go Royce with a goal and an assist.
Oh,
Beautiful.
I love
I stole yours, Mila. Sorry.
We're
Yeah, you
winning
did.
3-1.
I
That's
was gonna say I'm just gonna go next. We'll transition into that. My player of the match was also gonna be Royce, and given that he's had 2 assists and then scored 2 goals, I think he's gonna have 1 and 1 this game, just based off vibes. Hoping that he can get some over the top or just through balls to paint Sill if he plays that 9, and I think that'll be key. So one of those 2 players, I guess.
nice.
Let's go 2-0 again with the first clean sheet of the season prediction for like the 8th time this season.
Come on, bro. It's gonna happen at some point, right?
Probably not.
Yeah, I agree with Mila. I was going to say 2-0 as well. Like I mentioned, San Diego FC looking really similar, and I didn't necessarily think they threatened us too much. I felt that home opener should have ended like 0-0 or something like that. I didn't think we deserved to lose it in the way we did. We didn't play good at all. I thought it was a bad game, but I didn't feel that much threat from San Diego until obviously we give away a goal, and then they have this lightning counterattack at the end of the game where you have Gabriel Peck defending. So besides that, in open play, I didn't see a whole ton from them. Obviously, they're scoring a lot of goals now, third in the West, but it's a similar team, and I don't see them. They've lost their striker, a little bit of goal threat there, their biggest goal contributor. So with all of that in mind, I don't necessarily see them being any more dangerous than they were last time around. And again, like I said, I feel like we're a little bit stronger, a little bit better, and we have something to actually go ahead and create and score some goals of our own. It's not just going to be as easy as double teaming Peck this time around. So, yeah, I think 2-0 us. I don't think Mikovic is going to make any bad passes, fingers crossed, knock on wood. But I think we're solid. I don't think in these last couple of games, I haven't seen too many of those game-killing mistakes that we saw so much throughout the rest of the season. We're sort of getting a little bit better at getting that out of our system. So I just feel all of that is pointing to a better game, a win for us, and a 2-0. And yeah, I'm going to hop on the Royce train. I think that 1 goal, 1 assist is spot on. He's going to, follow up on another play himself, get himself a goal, maybe score a free kick. And he's going to put Joseph Paintsil in, I think, for a goal as well. Let him flame those defenders. So that's what I think. 2-0 and Royce.
Nice. I can't. Not all 4 of us can do Royce. I can't have a video. There's not enough internet compilations of Royce in a Galaxy kit for me to make a clip that has him the entire length of it. So I can't pick Royce. I got to pick someone else. I think that we're gonna win 2-1. Pick up our first win of the year, as we say every single episode. And I think that it's gonna be Gabriel Peck as our star player. He was so good in the last game. The only thing that was missing was the final end product. And that was the best he's looked all season. So I'm hoping he carries that over. I think that he knows that this team needs him to be at that level. And it was apparent during that game. It's just, is he going to get up for it? And I think that San Diego crowd over the majority of the season has been super electric. They are really adapting to life as a football community here in San Diego. And I'm down the street, so I hear it and I see it. So I think that they're going to give it to him a little bit, and he strives in that type of pressure and environment. He's from Brazil. That's what they're about. Be a shithouse. Go get us 2 goals, and let's win 2-1. That's what I'm feeling.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The longest episode in Cosmos history, I think. We did it. It serves us right in the southern,
It's a sign of the times.
The Southern California Classicos. That's what this week is, and then we have the oldest rivalry in our history, midweek.
San Jose, all right.
We'll talk about that. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna be there.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm deciding. We'll see, but I'm cool to end it if you guys are.
Yep.
All right, Andrew, plug your stuff, and then I'll do the thank you and goodbye.
No, thank you. I always appreciate this. Los Angeles Sports Nation, laxsn.com. We've got weekly articles there, coverage. You could also find our press conference clips. So we're talking to Vanny, the players, on Twitter at NGFAndrew. You see it on the screen. On Instagram, Nuestra Galaxia Futbolera. We're a bilingual community here. So great coverage there. Really blessed to have some good access to the team. So follow along to get a nice inside look at the team this year. And yeah, we're having something coming out Thursday night talking about Vanny. We've talked about it here a lot, but Vanny's been making a lot of changes since, getting that renewal, and it seems to be working off. Let's see if it keeps on working off and he gets this win, but we're going to be talking a lot about that. If you want to find out a little bit more, read of what Vanny's actually is doing, we got it for you, Los Angeles Sports Nation. Really great to talk with you guys. Thanks again for having me on.
Andrew, we love having you on. From myself, Dari, and Mila, we have been Clash of Cosmos. This has been episode 13, and LAFC sucks.
LA are the champions. They're going to go alone. Still back. What a goal. It's 6. They just cannot stop scoring. The volley from Bono. Yes. San Jose carved open with a world-class pass from Ricky Pooch. Glittering Galaxy, and Landon Donovan is the match winner.